everybody to Friday Dojo. It's Dojo 294, I believe, and it's February 20th. As it happens, as an aside, it's the birthday of my twin brothers who turned 36 today, so they won't ever see this, but I'm thinking of them. And right there at the end, James, if he can hear me, he juxtaposed Noggle to tonal, which, as a person who loves words, that was really useful. And then also, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to, if Nancy, we can continue with this, what you were discussing. Nancy was just discussing, and Lori, I'm sorry, also, we're just discussing Nancy's suggestion to talk to yourselves and on a cellular level, and that was something that was very inspiring for Lori, and it reminds me of what James was just talking about the arrowhead and the tongue as a way for the village to synchronize, and and how just talking to yourselves. I mean, just the and this is something I love about words. You know, sometimes words can be considered obscure as something we look at and around like an object. Sometimes they can look like a lens, something we look through and help color our world. And to know, to have an idea of what you mean when you say I'm talking to myself, and for that magic power of that to take over and all of that to work. Really, really amazing stuff, Nancy, and in line with what James was talking about today, also.
Well, I can share. So Lori and I had this like amazing couple-hour conversation yesterday again, and but when I was being cleansed, I really believe I went through like a cleanse because whatever. It really put me in a state to reevaluate everything, and I'm still doing that. Again, it doesn't stop. You know what I mean? So many layers. But I abandoned myself so much. I wanted to really put me first, and so I made that decision probably during the treatments. My anniversary for my last chemo was the 17th on the eclipse. I had no idea it was so. I used that day to. I'm feeling amplification when I start to really. I learned kind of how this is going to sound so crazy, but thank goodness I can tell you, every beautiful person here. I worked on how can I hug myself on the inside. And so I can sense my whole field, like we all probably can, but I started to really do that. And then I started to bring it more internal. And so when I do that, it's like everything's amplifying. I'm having to go, whoa, on my horse sometimes because it's powerful and the goosebumps are getting, more alive. I feel like I'm coming alive or online. I mean, James, you were talking about it. I don't know if I'm going to turn into a werewolf or something or my animal, but something shifted. And I know it was when I stated in the dojo, and I said it last dojo, I have to be loyal to me. And it's like every cell is like, yes. And I can't, something is like, has happened, and I won't compromise. And I'm starting to really believe that the intensity that I felt things with was not like something was wrong with me, which of course we all have felt that way, right? And I often would think, why do I exaggerate everything? And I don't think my body did. My mind played around and tried to dim and fit in, all the stuff we do. It's how I'm wired. My older sister's similar as far as like we get this charge and we get really animated. And but it's fun. I'm like having fun. So and I don't care what's going to happen. It's like I'm using my imagination to imagine the emotions I want to be in and the experiences I want to have. And a lot of that is like going to Mexico or going to the mounds in Ohio or all that. And I'm on my horse and it's like feeling wonderful. Thank you. Just thank you to everybody. And James, I didn't get to hear all of it. I heard what I heard. I was so glued to hearing you. It was so it like confirms it, supports it. It like, yeah, keep doing this, Nance. You're not crazy. I'm just getting more real with myself. So I'm sorry. Now I'm rambling. So
I'd love to
Um,
respond, Cameron, when I get a chance.
yeah, please. Thank you.
Um, I love James's live. It really dovetails into all of that work I did in Peru because all of that cosmology is connected. So the last slide he put up before I was like, oh my gosh, the time is just, I don't know what happened to time, but it sped up or something. I don't know what happened, but it got to that place where you showed that divine feminine with the roses down here and all across South America has this Madonna, like, and that's like Mother Earth. In all different ways, she is the Sibyl. And so I listened to the Sibyl speak. They told me to go to Peru and learn the rainbow method and get all my resonances and understand that 7 colors are in each color and how that's quantum physics. So I was like, that level of the animal turning, like the shape shifting, actually hearing the divine feminine speak, come in as birds, and then speak different languages. One of them didn't speak Quechua; she only spoke Spanish. She's in Peru, and she's like, "Why are you talking to me in Quechua? I only speak Spanish." And it's like this level of what that spirit is. It's so alive. And I remember being initiated on at this wild Sulca River, and we had to stand on these pelts of the animals, and one of them was the jaguar. And that was like in Peru, the jaguar is kind of like kind of but it kind of confused me because the there's the puma and then there's the jaguar and then there was the deer skin, and they had to have, in order for us to use them, they had to have their feet on. So we were like going into the skin of the animal, and then they would do these like conch shells and all of this like regalia, and we were like all, like, and they would blow this, that I felt the animal inside of me. And I would say the most potent one was the deer. Now that was like to represent the world that we live on here. But the jaguar, even though that they use jaguar for the Kai Pacha in the cosmology, the jaguar represented the cosmic field, like a higher level. And the whole thing was just disorienting. It had to do with like going into the river and letting go your old, dying like the John the Baptist, and then coming out onto these pelts. And we were the first white women to get to do this. And I am now just kind of understanding what happened. And all of this research that you're doing, James, it's like, I mean, it's superb. And starting out with being so freaking upset because of the loneliness of that we're living in the psychopathic in this reality of we're trying to separate from something that's never really able to be separated from. That is us, and that is me. So I just want to share what happened with Nancy's conversation, because I asked her when she went through that cleansing, did she have pain? Did she choose to have pain? She said, no, this is just, I was started to talk immediately into my cells and allowing them to do this work inside of me. And I realized that I walk every step in pain, every step I for a really long time. And I said, I'm gonna go off today, and I'm gonna ask my cells what they have to tell me about pain, about this walk in pain. And I wrote about it on Substack, so I don't want to bore everybody. I'm talking too much, but it's up on Patreon if anyone wants to know what the discovery was. But I really think it's all kind of connected into our uniquenesses, and I'm just excited to be here. So thanks, Cameron.
Thank you, Lori. And I'm excited. I'm glad to know. I have not checked the James True chat today, but I will be certainly looking at that. It's very confusing to me, the the polarity here. Like I was mentioning, or I was thanking James for the for bringing the arrowhead and the tongue as something that synchronized a village, and then I was thinking about how the witch pricker is almost the same, but to the opposite effect. Like it pricks the person to see if they are like it's the village just pricking that person, and to see to weigh like their outlawry versus like their need to the community, I guess, so they can be used as that pharmacon, that sacrifice, if they're truly the ugliest one. Um, and I feel when I look at what's going on, and I agree that whenever James says this Epstein is like that arrowhead in the tongue that we need ultimately. Um, and lately, I've been maybe reacting in a way that might be perceived as working against that call to shame people for apathy, and that's not where I'm going. But when I look at the way people are reacting, I feel like I see a lack of executive function. Like the same way when I come here, um, I can't hold on to my skin, which is Cameron, because I'm so like flooded with the emotion. I start stammering with my uhs and my ums. It's like I'm forced out of I'm forced into Versipellis, but what it is I'm like forced out of my skin that I've built through years of practice and developing executive function. Like it all washes away, and I feel like for me to engage in what the community's doing is like that. And I wonder, none of that might have made any sense, but I did notice when Nancy was talking about how great she's feeling and how alive she's feeling, like before that all started, she saw just in the back of her mind like a period of abandonment that she is correcting. And when you put those skins on, Lori, is that I think of a ceremony that is trying to connect you with things that maybe we've abandoned, animal natures. I don't know. I'm not a part of that school, but and so I wonder when Nancy's talking about what she abandoned. Um, is it this animus or this animal that works with the cells that can speak directly to the body? I'm having trouble.
Cameron, it really was. But because I had such a Western mindset, I don't even remember what the word I gave away is in the river, but I remember joy was the one that I wanted to bring into my life. And I have been struggling with joy or bliss since I got out of that river because I had such a white mind virus.
Yeah.
And James's work with the mind virus of being this cracker and not claiming the soil and not, like I'm peeing on the ground outside all the, like ever since that talk, I just out there peeing because I just want to claim that joy inside of myself, just be that joy. And, but that was what the initiation was those, the upper world, which is your, connected to the stars, the middle world, that's the earth plane, and the lower world, which is, these connections that we forget when we're so freaking programmed. It's like programmed not to belong, programmed to not fit in, programmed to not feel joy, to feel crappy about yourself, or you're just not good enough because your body looks like this. There's so many ways that separates us. And then you go into the loneliness that makes you feel schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just kind of noticing how many places I schizophrenic. And I remember going to Peru and all these people so connected. I mean, they just had natural joy. I'm sure when you go to Africa, it's the same thing. You see all these people that have nothing. And in the Western society, we're like, I'm not comfortable. I'm hot. I'm cold. I'm this. I'm that. I'm just like a cracker, not connected to the soil. And I'm just getting to like that level of like with Nancy. I love talking to Nancy because I get something like from that part of her that's connected in that goosebumpy way. She's always had that. And I'm like, it's attractive to me. I find my own joy from witnessing all of you guys and all the pieces that are part of me. It makes me less schizophrenic or whatever that is, to know that we have this Jaguar and Epstein file that's landed in us. And we can say we knew, but it's still like collectively, it's really messed up. But it makes it better because I have these other, this other stuff. And you laying down that the Naguals, and me dealing with that shaman, that whatever that woman, that she was really she's almost 90 now, the woman that cast a spell on me. But I realized how powerful I was when she cast that spell. And I'm like, nothing can touch you if you don't go into the fear of what it is. But she had she had that level of that Carlos Castaneda stuff. So it's all real. It's so more real than you could ever possibly imagine. So I just want to say.
Can I share something? So, because of James's work, I got to reevaluate when I was bulimic. And when I looked it up in Louise Hay, I wasn't safe to be alive. I'm like, wow. And it was really like true how it resonated. So, but you also gave me a perspective, or I was able to have this perspective through your work to like, well, that was pretty powerful. The shit that I was doing, that was like, I mean, it was very destructive. And so I was asking my body, well, what's the opposite of that? I mean, what's the opposite of doing that? Because, and I just kept getting, be with yourselves, just be with sounds like yourself, your cells. And it's taken a while. I mean, but when I get real with me, it's easy to like feel this, I've been growing it, I guess, or I'm tapping back into it because I know I was like this as a kid, and I was always like, calm down, Nancy, calm down, in all sorts of ways. But so yeah, you're James. You just like, we can flip all this stuff upside down, and I've used my imagination. Of course, I imagine like just beauty, and we're already this love. We're just now remembering. Oh, we're already whole. We're working through all these layers of wow, what we're not. So anyway, thank you. I love everybody. I wouldn't be here at all if it wasn't for every person here and who was here too.
If I could just say that you've had a profound impact. You've mentioned your fondness for the little ones in your life, and so I just want to say what a profound impact your story has had on my mindedness with my own children, and like the story you shared about something your mother had said to you in passing, and how that stuck with you, and so many stories, and I thank you so much, Nancy. James, I haven't heard from you. I almost feel like I should welcome you into the conversation. I know you've been listening, but um, it's the longest I've ever gone in a dojo without hearing your voice. So it's kind of
Well, it's good to see everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I don't know what happened. I entered like a time warp. It was really, really strange there. And thanks Renee for texting me to let me know. It's um I thought about this group, and when I was thinking this morning, I don't know I don't know why I think that I needed to be here if it wasn't for like you guys, like, and then it made me realize kind of how good I have it, and I'm still complaining about stuff. Um and so there's that too, and it made me profoundly sad because I was picturing an invisible person that basically was feeling the way I did but didn't have you guys around. And I just got really sad because I realized there's a lot of people like that, and I think I might have tapped into one today because it was a post about a data center. Someone saying we don't need a data center here, and I don't think we need a data center where I live because of the layout of the mountains. And in fact, I think it's absurd that someone's like, let's put a data center. I don't even know if it's real because I don't know how feasible that is. But regardless, someone was angry at the poster because the poster had used an AI image to complain about a data center, and that's very good. Like there's a lot of irony there for sure. And it it hit me because I started to realize why this person felt that those two things were the same. That an AI, if you liked AI, it meant that you liked data centers, and if you didn't like AI, it meant you didn't like data centers, and that those two things were exactly the same. And I understand why that's a way to see the world. That's a very simple way of looking at it. And this guy was a developer, and I was sort of poking him a little bit, and he didn't know that I have a history in development. And he's like, well, as a developer, you don't understand how much it's done to hurt. And I kind of pressed him on that. I asked him about that, and my reply is, why haven't you trained your own model yet? Why haven't you integrated AI into what you do as a developer? Why do you have a passion for code, but you hate AI? These two things don't seem congruent to me. I'm just saying, an AI is a very sophisticated algorithm that somebody wrote. If you're a programmer, that's like telling a wizard, hey man, I don't like fireball spells. Fireball spells are ruining the world. That's fine. Fireball spells will ruin the world. But before we get there, let's take a moment. You're a fucking wizard. And you're talking shit about a fireball spell. You're talking shit about a fireball spell. Did you catch that? I don't mind you saying this. That's fine. But did you catch that? Because where's the passion? Why have you not been like, that fucker built a fireball? I tried it last night. I fucking trained this thing in my garage, and this thing in my garage now tells me when it knows when the trash is gone. I trained it to look at my trash can. It took me fucking 38 months and 3 Raspberry Pis working all the time to train this model. Then you start to look at what is an AI trained model. First, you need a data set. What's the data set? It's a bunch of humans that are telling you this is one thing. Okay. What's next? Then you need a test set. What is that? It's a bunch of humans that have tested whether or not what the first data set said is valid. Okay. There's more humans. Okay. What's the third set? Now you need people to tell the AI if it was even right or not. It's like, well, that's a whole other set of humans. Yes. So every single thing you're saying that this AI needs is humans? Yes. The entire algorithm, for the first time, as a software engineer, for the very first time, your main input isn't a math table. It is fucking people's emotional response to a picture. You are manipulating that now. You have that as a force embedded in an algorithm of 20,000 pictures, and you're going to run and ask this AI, tell me how many people are smiling. I want to associate with what was in the room with them because I want to see if there's something interesting about what people like. Hey, what do you know? It turns out people smile more when it's 11:13 a.m. or whatever the fuck. This is compassion. You are using the passion of algorithms to see people more, not less. But we are not disgusted by AI. We are disgusted by greed. We are disgusted by the greed that is infusing itself into AI. We're disgusted by the anti-hero, this anti-genius, this Elon Musk is pretending that AI is what people think it is, what people have a false assumption of. He's taking those false assumptions and he's using that. That's not programming. That's social manipulation. So that's not AI either. But every chance we get, we look to find things that are at our disposal, whether it be civil rights, whether it be the internet, whether it be selfies. Every single time we come out with a new technology, the first thing I see is a bunch of people shitting on our own power. That's the first thing we do. So we got to shame and talk how bad our power is. The same thing we're like, what do you mean you asked the Jaguar gods into your heart last night and now you feel different? The fuck did you just do? Well, I said, dear Jaguar gods, I've opened a spot in my heart for you. Will you come visit me? You can't do that. You have to do that with Jesus. It's the only one you can do that with. It's the only one. So we're not even not doing this. It's not like we stopped. It's not like we're like, well, no more Nogglism. No, not once have we said we can't have Nogglism. We've just simply said it has to go through a majoritarian legion. We just need everybody to approve who your fucking familiar is going to be, who your spirit animal is going to be today. And I mean, it's clever. It's clever because we're sort of wearing the skin of victims. We're sort of wearing the skin of transportational, freeze dried, dehydrated humans. That's our spirit animal. And that's a cool spirit. We're the zombies. You know what I mean? We're able to dehydrate ourselves, turn ourselves into dust, pack that dust into a cracker and reinvigorate it later in any other place you want to put us. You can put us on Mars. You can put us on the moon. We don't have to go there. You can just say we're going there. And we'll be like, yeah. It's this is skin turning too. This is the same skin turning. So the magic hasn't gone away, but we don't own it anymore. We we cannot afford to own it anymore. It is very tricky stuff. I think that's why that the red road is just so important. It can never be given to you. It can never be easy. It really wouldn't mean the same, you know? It's like the bleeding of the tongue. It's like I would be a guy that's like, wait, do we have to bleed ourselves again? Do we have to do that again? Is this really necessary? I'm ruining my magic too because I'm resting in the laurels of my comfort and I'm noticing only brief glimpses do I get to realize how selfish I am and how much better I have it because I've learned to reject this magic. I've learned to reject the discomfort of all that magic of all it is. So yeah, I'm all over the place today. I very emotionally just even watching Andrew, like Prince Andrew, get arrested. I like it kind of makes me go, well, you know, maybe something will happen here. But then all my friends are like, you can't be excited about that. You fucking fool. You and it's just like, oh, God, I hate my village. I hate my. How do you? I don't know. I don't know what to say. Anybody got anything? Yeah, Clint's got his hand up. Good.
I hadn't heard about it's Andrew, but I had heard about Robert Duvall passing recently, which of all the people on TV, Cleveland was one of the ones I was dreading most. Clinton, go ahead.
I liked your work on Aeon Byte, James. That was good. You really flowed with that. I feel like the AI is the scapegoat we need, because we can't be accountable for anything. So if the internet's wasting the water, then we can blame it on somebody, and whatever it takes for us to get to this, it's definitely eye opening and definitely not an "I told you so" kind of moment. But the were jaguar is great, and I think we need to embrace that. That's what Nancy's doing, talking to the cells with the F after it. You got longer alone, and like we have this community. Um, it's beautiful. This is my spirit animal, is the dojo, you know, and then because I see myself in everyone here, and I don't have to then be alone ever. I don't got much to say except it feels good to know that we're feeling. It's just a bunch of remembering and putting our parts back together. That's the way I see it. That's all I got.
I wonder about this remembering and forgetting. Um, in some of my own research lately, there was a person who warned that that was a consequence of our determination to be contradictory. Um, and I might think maybe, in this, on this earth, in this carbon realm, that as long as we're in a carbon realm, the subconscious is just where memories are best stored for the most part. We dig them up, turn them over, familiarize themselves with them every once in a while, and they fall back and settle in. And we discussed before silica being superior as far as maybe it can stand in the light and not burn and or burn cleanly, and not deteriorate in the burning. But Lori, I hope I haven't broken your train of thought. Go ahead.
No, never, Cameron. Um, I really like that silica and all of the work James has been doing. And um, so anyhow, I just wanted to share about a community thing because I don't know, you guys have witnessed me be the loneliest I've ever been with disappointment in my what I see around me. And so I was kind of thinking about like these cells or like listening. So I'm like creating my from my eternal now in the pleroma to pleroma, whatever that is, that word. Um, I'm creating something. So then I'm like, well, let me go ask the question on how with this creation. So I had my mechanic come over to work on my van, and he comes to the house. It's only in a small town that you can get a mechanic to come to your house. And so this 37-year-old guy's flirting with me. I'm like, it's really weird. So I said, well, let me just like see what this is about. So I started asking him questions. Instead of like thinking I have any answers, I think the way that I get through my loneliness is asking questions. I make assumptions about people. And then I get really disappointed. And then I get really like distraught because the world is so FUCK'd. And I'm like, so I asked him, I said, Jeremy, do you believe in UFOs? Yeah, he goes, he's a 37-year-old black man. And he says, do I believe they're here in this town? I've seen it. Saw the lights. Then my father was walking home from the grocery store. He got so freaked out. He dropped his grocery bags and he went in the house and he was afraid of the dark. And we had to get him out like he did. They were trying to abduct his father. Okay. And this guy is a genius when it comes to mechanics. He can fix any car. He knows how the thing works. And so I'm like, there's geniuses everywhere. And then they're really weird. He was telling me stuff. He's flat earth. He's this. I live in a tiny Cajun town of 1,000 people. And I'm like, I never would have thought to ask the question. So I said, I'm going to ask the question. And then all of a sudden it went on and on and on. Do you know about this? Do you know about that? I'm like, but the fact that he could not speak English. He couldn't say Epstein. It was like I was like, what is he saying? He couldn't say the word, and he couldn't say a lot of words. And I was like, but he was like this genius. And right there in my little town, this happened to me yesterday, and I'm like, okay, so I don't know what's going on and how many people are waking up, James, but there is so many more than what we see on this little thing right here. This thing is like just like a black mirror of a little bit of that when you go in that mirror place and there's all that distortion of the mirrors and like I don't know, like you just never know where you're going to find the thing. And I think it's because I'm not having that the world's broken anymore. And that's what I really want to help say thank you for that, because I kept thinking that it's so broken and all these people are so not awake. And then all of a sudden, my genius mechanic can't really speak English, telling me all the distortions. He's telling me what's like in the school systems and how there's 37 kids in each classroom in this little town, and the teachers can't teach. They're just trying to keep order. And he says, then we have to teach them. We have to teach the kids. Well, isn't that a good thing? They can't get taught in the schools that this UFO like guy that's awake is getting to teach his kids. He doesn't really like to do it, but he's kind of nothing's broken. So I'm like, how can all of that stuff, the distortion or the scapegoat? I love what you said, Clinton, about the scapegoat of AI. I mean, I see, the people waking up to where they've been scapegoated or getting I mean, it's just like everywhere I'm seeing like people really like see, I don't know. It's like maybe because I've created that in my eternal now. I don't know, but it's much better than it used to be. So I'm grateful for that.
So interesting to hear that AI is being scapegoated, and I get that same exact impression too from everything I see. And but it thrives somehow. It's thriving.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know
and
why
that's
that is.
it always gets shaped this way too. This is every new technology. This happens this way. The negative reaction to it and the exploitation of it ends up changing the technology right away. I think the same thing's happened with Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin's a lot of people are saying that that's a Trump. I'm like, wait. This was Bitcoin was so here long before you even knew. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why are you and in my mind, I'm like, why are you going back to the petrodollar? Why are you running back to the same skullfuckers? Like every time. You know, why fulfill that prophecy? And I think if we could ask Jaguar into our heart, I think if more of us would take the time to, doesn't have to be Jaguar, but wherever you live, this echo is the word echo is the oldest word I've found for what Native Americans around my area would call deer. And I cling to things like that. I cling to little things like that because I'm like, this is more important than anything else. This is it. And you ask these things into your heart every time. I've got this. It's a problem. I've got a mouse problem. I don't want to kill them though. I am going to round them up. It's going to take a long time, but I'm going to round them up. They're going to voluntarily enjoy this new place that I'm giving them. It's part of me mastering that totem. And the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts are exactly right. There's Bobcat, there's Wolf, there's Bear. These are, different places to be on this totem. And one of them is Jaguar. And that's not for everyone. It's kind of like being a giraffe versus a lion. I there's not like a this is the way to be, but all of these are vertebraes. All of these are postures, we can take. And people like Trump and Epstein are here just to remind us, it's you're going to have to do things that aren't easy. You're going to have to take certain things that are I just think there's a so I see this a lot in Italy. Like this those guys are kind of badass. I'm just talking about if you notice how many times they're always protesting, they're always just like, man, fuck you and your fucking virus or your vaccine or your pedophiles or they're always on the leading edge of civil disobedience. It's a regular thing for them. And I'm just so jealous of that. I wish that we had more of that. I just think things would be fixed a lot sooner, like overnight. Things would things wouldn't be allowed to happen like this because there's a tiresome feeling where it's allowed to parade itself and all of us have kind of broken down to, well, we'll just wait 3 years. What the fuck's going to happen in 3 years? Because if we wait for this, it's just all we're doing is saying more, man. We're just saying, let's fucking do more. Who's next? Because if we could stomach that, we could stomach more of this. And there's a capacity there to be able to stomach things. That's impressive. But where's our capacity to not stomach things? Where's that? You know? Where's that when you've got someone that is on the inside and just says enough, you know? That's the part that I find more loneliness in because so much of it is that. So much of it is that kind of energy. And you're always shielded because you're not Trump, because you're not Epstein. You're always shielded because you're just that Nuremberg behind it, and only 20 of us are going to have to pay. Like, just it's only 20 of us. As long as I'm not in the worst 20, I'm an ICE agent. I'm good. I'm going to fucking beat the shit out of these people because I feel like it. Nothing's going to happen to me because I'm not at the top. I'm not doing it more than the others. it'd be cool as fuck if we could. I mean, I see a lot of that. I'm really thankful to the feminine energy that has done so well at shaming ICE agents. I really appreciate that. Like that really means a lot to me. It's some of the most powerful, potent medicine I see, you know. More than courts, more than justice, more than civil suits. And honestly, the worst thing we could do is fire somebody. The worst thing we could do is say, "Well, now you're fired." Ah, it's like, man, I wish we, I wish we were. That's the part. That's the. I think you guys get what I'm saying. I don't mean to sound pessimistic. I'm more exploring the loneliness of it. You know, just in my own cowardice. I haven't invented a an FAA proof drone. I haven't built one myself. I know I could. I know that I could build a drone that defies the FAA regulations. It's probably good I don't have a bigger budget. I'd be doing more of this stuff, you know. Uh, I still trust the system, but man, it's lonely sometimes when you when you see it behave like that. So, yeah, yeah, it's all good though.
Feel so close, James, and yet every time I want to speak, I almost feel like I'm coming across as being far away. I because of the circumstances of being involved in conspiracy theory, or I became privy to some of the fears around inoculation, and I don't mean to make this about that. It's not really about that, except for that I had decided I was going to homeschool my children. And about the same time, I was encountering you, and you did some beautiful work as far as talking about school buses as shipping containers for children, really to help me reinforce this idea that putting my kids in school was a form of abandonment. And I eventually crumbled under the pressure because in my network, which is my connection to society, there's a very strong feeling that school is socialization. And essentially, this is not their words, but to not put my kids in school is abandonment, also abandonment of society or of that system. Um, I folded on that, not begrudgingly though. Once I decided to make the pivot, I started my language changed. I started talking about the reasons they should go and the benefits and as you guys know, who's heard me tell this story before, the community's come a long way in showing me that they also that I could also still hold on to certain things, although maybe I've abandoned in the process of finding this middle road in this regard, where I'm in the system where I'm still homeschooling my children here. To what made me think of this was um, I'm still homeschooling my kids essentially. What I had to decide whenever I bent the knee on going to school was that sending my kids to school was abandoning my responsibility. That my kids would go to school, but it still wasn't gonna be the school's fault if my kids ended up shitty or uneducated. Like that was always my responsibility. It was wrong for me to think that putting them in school took that responsibility away from me. And so and yet the sacrifice, or maybe what I have abandoned, was a passionate notion that I needed to fix something, like that I needed everybody to do what I was doing, and I've also maybe abandoned that by deciding that I really actually don't want a world where all of these perceived medical advances aren't available anymore. I can have them, and I think you guys get my point.
I think about your position all the time, Karen, because I think that victory is directly adverse to wisdom in this case. I think that the wise answer is to homeschool and not vaccinate your kids. But I think that's how you lose. I just think I picture you in this all the time, Cameron. I really picture, I think about it all the time. And I just think about what a perfect mythology of like Sisyphus, because you would have to behave the way every single reaction you've made is the logical, correct, not even logical, beyond logical. It's on every level, it's the correct decision to make until you until you see the skull fuckers, until you really understand the symbiotic nature. That's a better way of saying it.
I feel like, not to be wrong to anybody I love, but I wrestle with that. I feel like I'm witnessing skullfuckery, and yet we're co-creators ultimately. And these people actually love my children, and I'm gonna have to cope. I have to deal with that, and also be grateful for their love.
Even the, when you think about your family ties and how the different it's a it's very it's a crucifixion. You really are crucified by that. And honestly, the only noble thing you could do, and you've done this well, is suffer, Cameron. It's really the only noble thing you could do, because the people that are getting by are the ones who don't suffer, because they don't even think about the decision. They don't put anything into it. And so there's no crucifixion for them. I see it though. I'm not saying that's enough, but I see it. And I think that's part of why I feel the way I do now. Is you're just the correct answers do not involve victory, guys. I swear to you. I know for a long time I was like, that's the one I'm looking for. And I really, my heart is telling me that's not the right answer. Actually, the right answer is to symbiotically die for the pollen that you think is important. You have to pick. Look, you get to drown on any of these ships. You just get to pick which one. And that's good. Honestly, if I would have been ahead of this earlier, the good ship Lollipop would be like, "Fuck yeah, man. This is awesome." Because you're immortal anyway. There's the grand joke is that there is no success anyway. You've been fooled by people that have learned to not feel things like this, you know. And that takes a lot of dehumanizing behavior. It's like Musk just tweeted like a month ago, all the money in the world and I'm still miserable. It's like, no shit, you're miserable, dude. No fucking, yeah. This the best feeling you could have right now is feeling miserable. The fact that you could feel that way is like this tiny glimmer of fucking hope that you were redeemable, you know? And it looks like I feel miserable right now. It's when you can look at the world that way and look at these emotional tones and these hues as being the only thing that's kind of saving you, it does help. But also when you remove victory from it, something really, really big happens. You honestly don't know why you're here. Because before, when victory was there, the point, well, of course I know why I'm here. I'm here to survive and be victorious. I'm going to put my seed into a lot of pockets and collect a lot of money and make sure everyone around me likes me. And then you get here and you're just like, well, none of that. I don't, more people like me probably means maybe I'm not original. You just start to unwind all these things. Then you're left with, well, what the fuck am I doing here? Yeah. And that now you're building your witness for the first time. You're realizing your witness is important. You realize that me watching Cameron is important. There's a expression in Korea. The algorithm keeps telling me about it, but it's beautiful. It makes me cry. It does that to me. And it's this Korean lady comes on and goes, "There's a word in Korea which says," and the word is like uh it's not "I'm sorry you had a bad day." It's "you struggled and no one witnessed you." And it just it's happened now. I'm just like, fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. Whatever the fuck your name is, wherever the fuck you are, it's like, yeah. That's how you say that's how you do it, man. That is sympathy right there. That is fuck, that feels good, you know? when someone say, I've seen you struggle when no one else has. It's, ugh, I've seen that, Cameron. And it makes me feel important. Like walking around with like, oh, look, I watched, I'm the keeper of Cameron's crucifixion. It's my fucking job. Got the finest crucifixions in my Dewey Decimal Library of my limbic memory, you know? But yeah.
We'll be able to be seen, James. Thank you. Clinton, go ahead.
Oh, just when you're talking about that crucifixion and the friends, and so you want to get all the likes. We try to get more witness, and that statement that you make, that Korean bit of wisdom, being that's so spiritual anyways, like you're being witnessed, you know just the fact that there's a statement for, no one saw it but it was seen, and so we're constantly doing that, and then when we create more, we have friends or family, we can be crucified to the extreme, that you can't develop the self at all because you can be pulled at will from, like, in that movie Heat, was like, don't get involved in anything you can't leave in 3 seconds or whatever, however many. It's just, you got to be able to walk away from it. That's how these elite people have more power, because it's like, show me that you can throw empathy to the wind and that we can just dominate together, because if not, you're a weak link. And so we get crucified by our desire to be seen, and we're seen just being here because it's a hologram. I love you guys.
Yeah. If you think about how Washington works and you, like, in order for you to be elite, like president or senate, you have to show a willingness to play in the House or show a willingness to play in your local elections. So you end up with a kind of filter that's automatically saying, how well are you aligning, how well you are pivoting, how well at you at just reflecting what everyone else wants around you. This is truly the success of JD Vance. People nail it because they say, I don't know how he really feels. This is exactly why he's doing so well. You really don't know how anyone feels when they're at that level, and you need a lower level circuit, like a wrestling match at a local high school, that I mean, a pro wrestling match where everyone is allowed to practice their skills until they get good enough at that fantasy where they can go to the big leagues and do the same thing. That's what we're in right now. And like I said, to me, the hell isn't the people on the stage. It's looking at everyone around us that's just fine with it. It's just like that's really, there's the next level of alchemy for all of us. I'm not saying you guys are where I'm at, but it's like, for me, this is my next level, is how do I, you know, yeah.
You say Hades is the land of like 99% unseen, and our visual spectrum is like 1% of reality. So wouldn't that just kind of solidify our
Yeah.
reality? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, you could say that not knowing how someone feels is an evolutionary step in our biology, and that we've been utilizing the power of fabric and technology and mecha suits to showcase something that we would need. Keep in mind, we're on the land. We're not even in a three-dimensional. We don't even swim in the air yet. We've limited ourselves to a two-dimensional state because we're still practicing. So what I'm telling you sounds disgusting, because I'm telling you that we're supposed to have a more psychopathic shell, because I think ultimately the psychopathic shell allows us to broadcast, like a squid or an octopus, to broadcast ourselves in a facade on top of the very layers that we insist that make us in genuine. That ultimately, if you follow the evolution, those skills will prove to be genuine again. but that's the next level. So you're going to constantly find, I abhor things, therefore I'm going to call them evil. Or if you're still in that mindset, I abhor this technique because I've learned it. That's why. I worship this technique because I have not. And so you're just constantly moving up the scale into these things. And it would be quite likely that we would take the worst among us and broadcast them as the champions of this new skill if we are not comfortable with that skill. We would want a skullfucker to be showcasing that. We would want someone evil to represent that. Like Must Be an Anti-Genius is a perfect example of that. Like, you really have to be way behind to fall for that. You really have to be way behind. And it's really hard to picture why we would even want to behave like that. But if we were to see ourselves as a sovereign patriarch, guys, you're doing this anyway. You may have sympathy or compassion for AI or tech or just, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying what I happen to experience just because of me, and that you may find yourself purposely withholding that because it's not important right now. It's not important to tell someone that. Someone just wants to be witnessed by how much they hate tech, and this is all of these would still, God, man, if you truly tapped into what you're truly doing, you are a reef that's fronting anyway. You're fronting all the time. And the people that trust you, they trust your front. They trust that consistent front that keeps showing up. It's really difficult to understand. Being an autist, I'm just one kind of blind to this, but I'm always misunderstanding what someone's actually asking me versus what I really think that they're saying. It's such a mind fuck until you start to compassionate, you start to really practice this. And then if you really, really wanted to satisfy what someone wanted, you would be able to give them that and it not be fake. It's a genuine facade. How is this possible? Talking like a demon, James. You're saying you can have a genuine facade? And the only closest thing I could think about it is it's kind of like music, man. It's kind of like if I just started playing some music for you. And I'm telling a story about an imaginary friend. That person's not real. It's a facade that conveys something that is inside of me. It's so complicated right now. And we can never look at this in a universal, here's how everyone needs to act, you know? It's never going to work that way. That's probably maybe not you guys, but like out there, I think that's mostly what's stopping people is the fascism of majoritarianism, in which every single person needs to have the same thing. Isn't this really I mean, Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this really at the heart of really what vaccines is that we've just learned that the immune system is a very diverse population, and certain populations would need certain parts of this and certain populations would not. And if you're going to conform me to either have it or not have it, you're missing the truth of the diversity of what's here and the informed consent that goes along with it, the power of the placebo. And you would have to believe in something that's going to be, I mean, how is this not easy? And the only reason why it's not is because there's an outside majority that insists there has to be a common universal solution that every single person has to be a part of. This is fascism, but it's also logos. What the fuck, man? Which is it? Is it the fucking logos or is it the fucking fascism? Right? And you only get here when you've reached a certain Christ, when you've reached a certain Ubermensch or Lucifer. You look at yourself and you only know this because everyone around you's kind of whispering you're fucking being Lucifer. And then you have this, why am I supporting facade? What the fuck is wrong with me? And you have this existential crisis and you can't fucking believe it. But you stay with yourself during that. You don't abandon yourself during that. You stay with yourself. And you're just like, what the fuck just happened? Why am I saying all this is okay? Why is all this okay? What the fuck, man? And then new shames emerge. New regrets emerge. New guilt patterns emerge. fuck. There's not a, yeah. I hear what Lauren has to say.
You want to go ahead?
Hi, everyone. Um, so I think we're all getting well acquainted with the loneliness, but I really think it directly, in direct proportion, increases clarity, which enables us to just be able to embody these major energies that we're feeling lately. I don't know if you guys are feeling it, but as we were transitioning from the snake to the fire horse, it felt like I was just feeling everything directly through the center of my solar plexus. Like I had no choice, that impersonal love and care just took over. It just feels like a beam of light going through me. So that's been interesting. To try to just harness that and not let it be too much of one thing or the other. Um, I think it's going to be an incredible year. We're just all going to be faced with ourselves because we've all been thrown in the alchemist cauldron, you know. Um, but also, I'm really noticing how saturated the conspiracy realm is. It really feels like everybody knows little, just everything now, whereas before it seemed like there was a good amount, but it was just scattered around here and there. And honestly, that has made me feel like I've dropped a bag of rocks off of my back because I had a father that was telling me about not everything that we see in today's age, but a lot of the basic things since I was a little kid. Like I'm walking around 8 years old and I'm like, did you know there's going to be a pole shift, to my friends? And they're like, what are you talking about? So that made me feel strange. So now I just feel like there's this release. It's off of my back. I don't have to carry this around anymore. It's common knowledge. You can, as you said, Lori, you can have somebody come over and work on your van, and there you are having that conversation. So, um, I don't know. I think that's all I really wanted to share. It's nice seeing you guys.
So much, Lauren. I really relate to, I mean, to the relief that you felt. And, James talked today about how he doesn't think it's the right time to be taking victory laps, and I agree. And yet, as this does become so prominently featured across the whole mindscape, the collective mindscape, it's reassuring in the sense that I cleaved myself from the main body, and it was a terrifying feeling, and I love it as much as I hate it. And this kind of showed me that I'm still connected to that body. Maybe I was just a little out of step by 7 years or so. And there's something reassuring there, and that is the feeling I took today. Like, and maybe uh, when I wrestled at first with what felt like a call to engage in this stuff and then not abandon our society as it deals with this stuff, um, it really settled in because of this. Because I really do feel like it proves to me that I am still connected to this main body, and I think ultimately that I want that, even though I absolutely agree. Isolation for me, I say I want to be connected, but I really have a hard time. It's just the most exhausting thing to me to be, even in a crowd of my own family. Well, maybe everyone would relate to that being the most exhausting group of people to be around. But, uh, anyways, I love you guys. Thank you, Lori, for raising your hand, and Lauren, thank you so much. Go ahead, Lori.
Cameron, I just was compassionating your choice, and the first thing you said is like coming in as kind of like Kameron when you sat down and you're moderating. I really related like to that aspect of myself. I also relate to the story of like what's justice, what's right, is there anything right? And then because my daughter went the whole route with all the kids choosing to inoculate them, and it nearly tore my heart out, into like chopped up into a million pieces. And I never really expressed it to her because I knew that it wasn't it's not to be right, but it's to feel the feelings, and then to have that crucifixion that James was talking about, to be witnessed in it. And really, we haven't the level of what is happening with my own eternal now doesn't match up to her eternal now. Like over the summer, I could only go for one day. I disrupt the family system so much that it causes them pain, actually. And I thought, well, I love them so much that I don't really require that. But the system of, watching her homeschool her first 5 children. So I got to feel like, oh, that's great. Because my dad is also a conspiracy theorist. He was all into Edgar Casey. He told me where the opportunity zones were in Brooklyn when they burnt it out and the riots happened. And took us across the country showing us what was going on. I mean, I was, awake when I was 5 years old. And to see my daughter go from awake, what I thought was right, to totally like working for the Lockheed Martin and all the money and only engineering and STEM stuff. They only want STEM, and the best robotics. And I was like, well, I don't know what's right. I don't really have an idea what's right, but I know that it was my crucifixion to wake up to. I cannot negate the cells inside of myself that have had the experience with the jaguar on the Sulka River, and whether my daughter wants to have it in her personal experience with me, she gets it epigenetically. We're quantumly entangled. She gets it through the blood. And I don't need to have that kind of resonance, like loyalty with her. My alignment is to my higher self, and that's for those children. And it's like the hardest ripping of like what you really want to be like that type of, I was that type of grandmother. I mean, they were all homeschooled. I was like, they would come and visit and I would take them horseback riding. And I have all these people down here that homeschool, and all of them are like super, like if their kids go to be musicians, they form bands when they're 15 years old. They're like amazing what they can do when their interest is. Right now I'm watching one, and he's, I think he's 13 now, he's homeschooled, and he's becoming this amazing cowboy, like learning all the skills of being horse training stuff. So I'm like kind of watching that. That takes a full-time type of thing and a totally getting out of whatever we had. And I thought, well, how do we make it through and walking in those both at the same time? And I'm just feeling the compassion of being like, there isn't one right answer. There wasn't one wrong answer. It was like all of it. And it's hurt, like it hurts, HURTZ and HURTS, because that's the growth, And so I always have to like feel the suffering and know that the suffering is why I'm here. And so I just wanted to witness you, Kameron, and say, you're not alone.
Lori. Yeah, thank you so much. Clinton, go ahead.
What you were saying, Lori, with the grandchildren getting raised one way and then switching to a more conservative way is just kind of beautiful if you think about it, because they're gonna come out like grandma, because you raised your daughter your way and she's the resistance to you, and now she's giving you that generation back. Just wanted to kind of, that's my reflection on that.
Thank you, Clinton. I really saw that the oldest one, who doesn't talk to the rest of the family, is already kind of, she left and never spoke to her parents. It's been over 3 years, to any of the siblings or her parents. But she
Yeah,
does speak to me, but I don't try to go I don't contact her too much, because I don't want to create that drama triangle or any of that.
right. No more. You don't need to wedge anymore. But
No.
you have your own jaguar. She wants to completely pretend like there's no werewolf,
Yeah.
But when we're hungry, we'll steal to feed our family. There's no right or wrong, and just you got to do what feels correct,
Hmm.
Well, thank you guys for witnessing me, and Kameron, I really relate to your situation, and it's like I never felt more not alone. So
Yeah, there's a special kind of crucifixion when someone you love and you you know, or you realize that they're allowed to have their own cosmology, and you genuinely want them to have their own cosmology, and you genuinely notice that their cosmology is different than yours, and that they're doing things that threaten your cosmology. But then you notice that your cosmology is comfortable enough to realize that a lot of the fears you have are because this isn't your cosmology, and that you have a false stability. It shows you a flaw in your own cosmology because you felt that, well, this isn't my cosmology, right? This is just what you do. And it took you finding someone else to realize, wait, this isn't what you just do. This is just what I told myself that everyone just does, which means that I chose this quite haphazardly on purpose by myself, but I never really actually, holy fuck, none of this I've ever really actually checked on my own. I haven't done the math. And the entire time it's someone else that's brought you that. And who can survive that? I bet you 76.2% of people cannot survive that instantly right out of the gate. And now the remainder that are there, over 50%, it's going to depend on the weather. It's going to depend on their budget, their caloric budget. It's going to depend on what season it is. Are we going into Christmas? All those things. And then on top of that, the remainder is like 80% just dumbass being a fool luck. You just happen to just think the wrong fucking thing at just the right time. Way to go. You're a genius. And this is us. That's us. We're those lemmings that were just like, well, I just happened to turn around the wrong way, and I went the wrong way. I would have fallen off the cliff, but I fucking got lost. I was like, oh geez, I lost a sock. And then you're like, wait, I wasn't wearing socks. Where am I going? Okay. And then you get there and it's too late. There's erosion and now there's no cliff, and way to go. You're a fucking genius. And this is how Gaia works. Yeah. She fully counts on just, I need the stupidest of you to make it. This is what I hear Gaia tell me all the time. I need the biggest fool in the world to just make it into that little hole. If you do that, we're safe. That's a super intelligence. Betting everything on the lowest common denominator. You could not get more 5G. You could not get more. Oh, is my kid retarded? Oh, that's fucking great. Let's see what happens. What do you mean? Yeah, put him in charge of the helicopter. Do it. It's going to be great. Oh, he's putting a screen door in a submarine. This is great. He's going to fucking nail it. Like this is Gaia intelligence, right? And it's working. It's working.
Yes. James, I hope you don't mind. I've allowed us to go a little bit over given our start, but I want to thank you for everything you've done this week. And thank you everybody also for showing up today, for seeing me, for being seen, and for sharing your stories. I love you. If everybody will unmute and say goodbye, we'll close Dojo 294.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Much love.
Have a nice weekend.
Enjoy the weekend,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Tomorrow night, Mary Jo's joining us. So check out her.
Dojo.